So first off, shout out to Collin here, whose idea it was to make this video. Thank you, Collin. Your wish is my command. Here we are. So the Luke Cage Netflix series comes out in just a few days. So let's do a little bit of a rundown about who Luke Cage is, but I'm going to specifically target this towards the Netflix series and focusing on the different characters that they've announced that have been cast and that we know are going to be in the series. Just sort of a what you need to know before you see it. But since that Netflix series is going to be covering the origins of Luke Cage, and I'm going to talk about the origins of Luke Cage in the comics, just be advised there might be some potential spoilers, but only light spoilers. I don't think it should really spoil anything major, but just be advised if you want to go in totally fresh. Okay, so Luke Cage was created during the time that the blaxploitation films emerged as a very popular new genre, so he was created to sort of tap into that new market. And the Netflix series does seem to have that type of style and that type of edge with the music. A lot of the energy feels very 70s like that. But Luke Cage was actually born Carl Lucas, and he grew up in Harlem. And unlike many other comic book superheroes, this guy started out as a bad guy. He fell into a gang in his younger years, he got involved in all kinds of shenanigans. But as he grew up, he decided to go the straight and narrow and leave his criminal side behind. His best friend Stryker, however, continued on in his criminal ways, to the point where eventually a hit was put out on him, and it was only Luke Cage interfering that saved his life. But after a bit of a misunderstanding with Stryker's girlfriend, these two best friends had a major falling out. Stryker actually planted heroin in Luke Cage's house and then tipped off the police, framing him essentially and sending Luke Cage to jail. While he was in jail, he became consumed with rage over his former best friend's betrayal. But eventually he was selected for a scientific experiment where they were trying to duplicate Captain America's super soldier serum. And yeah, of course you would give that to a guy in prison. Makes a lot of sense, right? And that experiment is what gave him his super strength and his durability. Specifically, his skin is as strong as titanium, which makes him bulletproof and stab proof and all the rest of it. But it does have a difficult side. Because his skin is tough, it gives him that durability, but it doesn't protect him from everything. Like, he can still suffer internal injuries if he's hit hard enough, like if he's hit by like a car or something. And since you can't cut his skin, any internal injuries are really problematic because you can't, like surgeons can't operate on him to fix stuff. So it is a strength, but it's also a weakness at the same time. Using these new powers, he breaks out of prison and he goes out looking for his former best friend. Now, his former best friend became known as Diamondback at that point. Here's a picture from the Netflix series where we see the two of them going at it. Yes, it's a classic Count of Monte Cristo kind of story told in Harlem.
How did you ever call yourself my friend?
We were friends, Edmond.
You sent me to hell! Why?
And Diamondback develops a special knife that he believes will pierce Luke Cage's skin, but things go, shall we say, in an unexpected direction. Now, it turns out that the heroin that Diamondback planted in his apartment to frame him, he stole from a criminal called Cottonmouth. Now, Cottonmouth is kind of like a mini Kingpin. He's like a crime boss, obviously not at Kingpin's level, because, you know, there's only one Kingpin. But because that's where the heroin came from, Cottonmouth is kind of like the only one that can clear Luke Cage's name. And Cottonmouth, being a very ambitious criminal, wants to recruit someone like Luke Cage on his side, so he's kind of trying to use the fact that he can clear his name to get him to do jobs for him, and it's this kind of complex interaction between the two. So it seems like that's what we're going to get with the Netflix series. Luke Cage being framed, him getting his revenge on his former friend who betrayed him, and then this big showdown with Cottonmouth at the end. Now, the filmmakers have said that there will be no Iron Fist in this Netflix series because they just don't have time for it with all this other stuff. Now, Iron Fist, in case you don't know, is probably the next biggest significant relationship that Luke Cage has, other than Jessica Jones, because they team up together and they become like a duo team of like heroes for hire. And Iron Fist is like a kung fu master from a parallel dimension, and there is going to be an Iron Fist Netflix series coming out, and they're kind of like a core section of the Defenders, which we're building towards, where it'll be them and Daredevil and Jessica Jones and probably Punisher too. They're probably going to throw him in. But again, Iron Fist, they're not going to have time to do him, but I've heard that there is going to be a post-credit scene in the last episode of Luke Cage that will have Iron Fist in it, so be sure to stick around at the end of the credits for that. So look, there's a very quick rundown of Luke Cage and some of the relevant characters and issues that are going to come out in the Netflix series. As the episodes come out, I'm going to be doing 3 different videos sort of reviewing them in chunks. So if you want to check out my reviews, you can click on any of these right here. And until next time, I will see you guys in the comments.